Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtadhashata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavarind Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Do you think you could, there's a Chaitanya Charitamrita on that, right when you walk up the stairs on that little hooks there. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Seventh Canto, The Science of God, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society for Social Classes, Text 13. Please repeat after me. Samskara yatra vinchinaha sa dvijo jo jgada yam yajna danani vihitani dvijanmanam janma karmat vadatanam kriyash Āśrama choditaha. Samskara yatra vinchina sadijojo jagadayam yajna danani vihitani dvijanmanam janma karma vadatanam kriyashtashrama choditaha. Samskara yatra vinchina sadijojo jagadiyam yajna danani vihitani dvijanmanam janma karma vidatanam kriyashtashrama choditaha. Samskara yatra vichina sadvijojo jagadiyam yajna danani vihitani dvijanmanam janma karma janma karma vadatanam kriyash chashrama choditaha. Okay. Samskaraha. Reformatory processes. Yatra, wherein. Avichanaha, without interruption. Saha, such a person. Dvijaha, twice born. Ajaha, Lord Brahma. Jagada, sanctioned. Yam, who. Ijya, worshipping. Adhyayana, studies of the Vedas. Dhanani, and charity. Vihitani, prescribed. Dvijamanam, of persons who are called twice born. Janma, by birth. Karma, and activities. Avadatanam, who are purified. Kriyaha, activities. Cha, also. Āśramachodaha, recommended for the 4 ashrams. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadana ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma are Dvijas, or twice born. Such Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the 4 ashrams, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. Purport. After giving a general list of 30 qualifications for one's behavior, Narada Muni now describes the principles of the 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams. A human being must be trained in the above-mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, he is not even a human being. Then, among such qualified persons, the Varnashram process should be introduced. In the Varnashram system, the first ceremony for purification is Garbhadana, which is performed with mantras at the time of sex for propagating a good child. One who uses sex life not for sensual pleasures, but only to beget children, according to the reformatory method, is also accepted as a brahmachari. One should not waste semen on sensual pleasure, violating the principles of Vedic life. Restraint in sex is possible, however, only when the populace is trained in the above-mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, it is not possible. Even if one is born in a family of Dvijas, or twice born, if they have not followed the reformatory process, he is called a Dvija Bandhu, not one of the twice born, but a friend of the twice born. The whole purpose of this system is to create good population. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when women are polluted, the populace is Varna Sankara. And when the Varna Sankara population increases, the situation of the entire world becomes hellish. Therefore, all the Vedic literatures strongly warn against creating Varna Sankara population. When there is Varna Sankara population, the people cannot be properly controlled for peace and prosperity, regardless of great legislative assemblies, parliaments, and similar bodies. Om Jnanativedandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langaite Girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Vancha Kapadibhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. This translation again. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadana ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, who have been approved by Lord Brahma are Dvijas or twice born. Such Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the four Āśramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Rishabhadev is instructing his sons. How many sons does he have? Anyone remember? 100, yes. Does anyone remember what happened to those 100 sons? Yes. You want to speak into the mic? Can you pass on the mic, Mogalila? For practical purposes, I think we should always put a mic on that gray chair by Dravida Prabhu.
Yeah, they usually put 2 and I have to give 1 away. All right, so Bharat became the king of the world. 9 of his sons became the 9 Yogendras.
Yes.
And the others all became helpers of Bharat.
Yes.
They were in different, in administration, as far as I remember.
So one became king of the world, Bharat, and 9 of them became the Nava-Yogendras, which you will find their teachings in the 11th canto, very important teachings. Some of their teachings are describing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And there are many very important instructions there. Could go over those another time. And the other ones, they helped Bharat. So when Rishabhadev was leaving, as all good people, all good men do, right? When he was leaving, he was going to the forest. He was renouncing his everything. As described within Srimad Bhagavatam, one should do that towards the end of one's life, or you could say the years before one's death. It's described that one should leave. So he was doing that. He was going to the forest, perform austerities, and so on. So he was instructing his 100 sons before he left. And he said many important, he gave many important instructions, but a famous one is, what is it? Yeah. You want to say it in the mic? We'll test. We're testing everybody this morning.
Nayam deho deha bhajam nraloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujamye tapo divyam putrakayina sattam shuddhye dasmad brahmasokyam tvananta.
Yes. Can you give us the English? Yeah. You have a poem? Okay, you could say your poem. I think.
Well, it goes like this. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through Bhakti Yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss.
Yeah. So Rishabhadev is saying to his 100 sons that as human beings you have a responsibility, and the responsibility is to live differently from the animals. And the animals, they're just engaged in lower propensities, or the 4 basic propensities. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And but instead of just focusing on those lower propensities, one should perform divine austerity, tapo divyam. divine austerity. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains that everyone's performing austerity. To live in this world and to be successful in any regard, one has to perform austerity. People perform austerities of waking up very early so that they could get into their car and drive to work. Normally, such a drive would take maybe 30 minutes or so, but because everybody happens to be getting their car, or a lot of people happen to be getting in their car at that time and driving to work, it will take an hour and a half. And then they go and they work all day long, which is austerity, and then they drive back in that traffic. One of our friends, he was mentioning how one of his friends, he was, completely free from any type of addiction to drugs or anything like that, but he started he started working in Los Angeles and dealing with that traffic. So he just started doing all types of things to cope with it. Taking all different types of intoxicants and everything just to cope with that traffic. Hopefully he wasn't doing it while he was driving, but so there's so many austerities that people perform. And we're also advised to perform austerities, but they're divine austerities. Austerities found within Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Krishna describes different austerities in the Bhagavad Gita. Austerities of the mind, austerities of the body, austerities of the speech. You could find that in the, what chapter? 17? 17th chapter. And it's very important. It cannot be overemphasized, the need to perform austerity. I remember years ago I asked one devotee, Bhaktinanda Tirthamaraj Mahatattva Prabhu at the time, and I asked him, I just joined the temple and I was trying to, do everything I can to stay floating above the water, right? Not sink. So I asked him, I said, what should I do now? And he said, you should perform austerities. So Srila Prabhupada would say our austerities are simple. We rise early in the morning, chant Hare Krishna. We have the austerity of the four principles. No intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, no eating of meat, fish, or eggs. Is that everything? Yeah. 4 principles. Chanting 16 rounds at least every day. But we could say that there's like a basic program that we follow, basic austerities we follow. But we are meant to go beyond those basic austerities, actually, if we want to make rapid advancement. And what are some of those other austerities? Well, some of those others we'll get into that a little later. But the point is, Kanai, that life is meant for yajna. Life is meant for sacrifice. It's not meant for simply entertaining oneself and collecting things, gratifying one's senses. That's not the mission of life. We're meant to perform yajna, sacrifice. In other words, there's a way in which to do things, and there's a way to not do things. Just like here, it's being mentioned, this idea for those who are in the Grihastha Ashram or heading towards the Grihastha Ashram. There is a particular system to bring good children into this world, which is very important. Because the fact is that there's going to be a lot of people bringing children into this world. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I mean, there's some push for that to, hey, stop having children, everybody. There's definitely a push. They're trying hard in the Bay Area, at least a lot of people up there. In other places, apparently in places in Europe, but, and whatever, I'm sure there's a number of other places. But still, people are having children. And within Krishna consciousness, it's not against the principle to have children for grihastas. Whereas we see in other lines, like if you want to join a very strict, authorized, traditional Mayavad line, then there's no question of having children. It's just full-on renunciation from the beginning if you want to be successful. So we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many of his associates were householders, not all of them, but many of them were, in Bengal and Jagannath Puri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely happy with those householders because they were Krishna conscious. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would name some of his householder devotees' children, give them names. So it's not that he was against that. Whereas we see that with his behavior towards Chota Haridas, you could study the pastime of Chota Haridas in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was a renunciate and he was not, it was actually in a very subtle way, but not following the principles of the renounced order, and Lord Chaitanya just rejected him. One thing, it was a lesson for those who are renunciants. You have to be very serious and careful. But we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on one hand, he was very encouraging to the householders and naming their children even, and on the other hand, with the renunciates, he was very strict. So the particular first ceremony for purification, Srila Prabhupada terms it in the purport, is Garbha Dana, which is performed with mantras at the time of sex for propagating the good child. So before the child is born, after the child is born, and throughout the individual's life, there's so many samskars, there's so many ceremonies that are done. And those who are devotees of Krishna, they should follow such things, as Srila Prabhupada's pointing out. It does have an effect. Therefore the training of brahmacharya, the training of becoming a brahmachari, and as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport today, of being trained how to develop all these particular qualities that was mentioned yesterday, quite a few. Could spend a whole month talking about each quality, at least. It's like 30 of them. So one is trained like that in the beginning as a young boy. Girls are trained in a particular way also. And then once they're trained, and then they could enter into human society. They already were in human society, but they can contribute to human society in the form of, and they can become grihastas or responsible householders. So, and once they do that, then again, there's a ceremony before the child is born, after, and throughout the life. And it's very, for those who are grihastas, it could be very pleasant and wonderful. Like some ceremonies, they have a hair cutting ceremony. They have the first grain ceremony. Sometimes the householders, they'll ask their spiritual master or someone like that, can you feed our child their first grains. So it's a special thing like that. The spiritual masters, other persons, they'll feed the child their first grains. They have a ceremony where the child is, they put many things there in front of the child. They put some money, they put a Bhagavatam, they put, what else? They put like a, what else is it, Ramapati, they put? Yeah, sword, I guess you gotta be careful with that. I was thinking it, but I didn't want to say it, but sword, they put a book, they put different things. And the idea is that whatever the child goes to, that's said to be their inclination. That's the idea. Of course, it's completely hard to base it on that, but I remember we were in Laguna Beach recently, and there was a ceremony. You know, they celebrate all these things up there. Good, actually. But we haven't really done that so much. You know, when's the last time you saw one of those here, right? But they had a big ceremony, and they had some special Swami guests up there or something. And so they put a few things for the child to crawl and grab. It's pretty funny, actually. So the child just like completely like didn't go for any of those things, like literally like nothing, you know. And then they just went, and then they went for the phone, you know, their parents' phone. I tell you honestly. So we're not sure what that means, but so there's a great emphasis on before one has entered the Grihastha ashram, or before one becomes, maybe skips the Grihastha ashram and goes to the sannyasa ashram, or whatever the particular case is, for men, for women, there's a great emphasis on preparation, preparing one's mind properly. So it's not that, hey, people think, oh, I think you're attractive, you think I'm attracted, we love each other, okay, let's get together and let's get married and let's have children, right? How is that going to work out? We see practically. What is the percentage? I mean, someone said it was 50% rate these days of divorce, but I'm surprised with that. I would think it would be more at this point. It seemed like it was 50% a while ago, so maybe someone could look it up. But the idea is that, okay, there's a whole astrological reading, you know, between to see if the girl and the boy match, and then there's, of course, that could be kind of funny too. I remember one of my god sisters. She was, I won't tell you who, but she was, you know, she wanted to marry someone, and he wanted to marry her also, and so they went to a few astrologers to see if it would work. So the first astrologer, they're like, yeah, you know, it's not really looking so good, and you know, it's not really compatible. And they're like, okay, let's go to the second one. So they went to the second one, and they said something similar. Then they went to the third one. There's like, yeah, you know, might be some difficulty, but it could work. They said, okay, we'll go with that one. So, yeah, they're still together, and you could say by Krishna consciousness, of course, Krishna consciousness transcends so many things, so you could transcend many things. You could even transcend the Grihastha ashram of Krishna consciousness. Transcend so many things, but and then there's preparation. Okay, the man's preparing his mind, the woman's preparing mind. They have to have a spiritual strength. They have to have devotion for Krishna. They have to be good devotees. And then there's a question of bringing children into this world. You say, okay, well, maybe I'm not a good devotee. Maybe I should never bring children into this world. So, and then there's a chance of the child being a special child with good consciousness. Of course, there's no guarantee. I mean, you have Hiranyakashipu, right? How good was his consciousness? It's really bad. But somehow or other he had Prahlad Maharaj. Of course, there's a whole pastime how that exactly happened, but the idea is that there's a better chance of bringing a good child into this world on that basis. Not guaranteed, but better chance. And in this way, there's good population. Good population is created, and as Srila Prabhupada says, it's not going to be created by. It's not going to be created otherwise by people's bad consciousness and their lust and their anger and greed. Okay, so lastly, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, please read Chaitanya Charitamrita, please read Chaitanya Charitamrita, please read Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 9, text 42, Srila Prabhupada, or Chaitanya Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Etavaj Janmasal Palayam, he quotes this verse from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this verse is saying, because we're talking about, there's a basic line of austerities, but then there's further austerities that Srila Prabhupada really wanted us to do. And this verse is giving this idea. It is a duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. So Srila Prabhupada explains that there's shreyas, or activities which are ultimately beneficial and auspicious, and then there are prayas, or those which are immediately beneficial. and he gives the example of children. For example, children, they don't want to go to school. They want to play all day, right? You have that experience, Shreshwar? Your children didn't want to go to school? They just want to play all day? Srila Prabhupada talks about his childhood, and he said that I didn't want to go to school. Actually, my mother, she hired somebody to take me to school. I mean, to be quite honest, I ditched school a number of times. You know. I ditched school in my elementary, and it's really young actually, if you think about it. It's like, geez, it's like really young, but it was in my elementary school, definitely middle school a number of times, but. So, but that's what children want to do. They don't want to go to school, but necessarily, but they may be forced. They want to play all day and night with their friends. And Prabhupada gives example of Krishna. He wants to play all day and night with his friends. And Mother Yashoda says, okay, you got to come back now. Nanda Maharaj, he's waiting to have dinner with you. You have to come back. So, but the idea is that we want to not just go for the immediate. That's the modern society. Just go for the immediate gratification. Forget about the future. It doesn't matter. But we want to strive for the shreyas, those activities which are ultimately beneficial. So we perform austerities now, and over time we'll be able to reap those benefits. So the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains, in the Bhagavatam it is said that one should be interested in shreyas. To achieve the ultimate goal of shreyas, or good fortune, one should engage everything, including his life, wealth, and words, not only for himself but for others also. This verse cited by Lord Chaitanya applies to human beings, not animals, as indicated in the previous verse by the words Manushya Janma. These injunctions are for human beings. Unfortunately, human beings, although they have the bodies of humans, are becoming less than animals in their behavior. This is the fault of modern education. Modern educators do not know the aim of human life. They are simply concerned with how to develop the economic condition of their countries or of human society. This is also necessary. The Vedic civilization considers all aspects of human life. So Prabhupada says it's also necessary. But the difference is that the Vedic civilization considers all aspects, whereas these people just consider one or a few: economic development, sense gratification. Forget about dharma and forget about, what else? Moksha. But humanity's first concern should be religion. To be religious, one must abide by the orders of God, but unfortunately people in this age have rejected religion and they are busy in economic development. Therefore, they will adopt any means to get money. For economic development, one does not need to get money. One does not need to get money by hook or by crook. One needs only sufficient money to maintain his body and soul. However, because modern economic development is going on with no religious background, people have become lusty, greedy, and mad after money. They are simply developing the qualities of rajas and tamas, passionate and ignorance, neglecting the other quality of nature, sattva, goodness, and Brahminical qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. The Bhagavatam says that it is the duty of an advanced human being to act in such a way as to facilitate human society's attainment of the ultimate goal of life. So whether we are women or men or Brahmins or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas or Shudras or whether we Grihastas or Vanaprasthas or Sannyasis or Brahmacharis or whatever our particular designation is at the moment, we want to try to go further in our austerities, which means sacrificing for the good of others, to try to help people become Krishna conscious. It's not that we're happy just living our own peaceful lives as brahmacharis or vanaprasthas or sannyasis or whatever, but we want to try to help others. Okay, does anybody have any question or comment?
I just have one comment. The Shreyas and Prayas thing,
Yes.
is constantly present, even on a material level. And the perfect example of that is the climate change going on. Scientifically, we have to slow down the burning of fossil fuels and the filling of the atmosphere with the carbon dioxide. And so they have these meetings, and everyone says, yes, we're going to do it. But each country is thinking, this is great. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, and everyone else will slow down. But it doesn't work that way. And so the climate is getting hotter, and that's what we have all of this confusion with the storms and the floods and the droughts and everything. So the principle is there. Even in ordinary life, as you mentioned with the kid, going to school, parents know that the children will have a hard time until they...
Yeah, Shreyas and Prayas. Yeah, in the third canto, it's mentioned how a living entity in the womb, or a baby in the womb, is actually conscious and praying, the pious soul. And they're praying in such a way that, yes, I'm in this terrible situation where I'm packed tightly in the womb of my mother, and the soul is repenting all of its sinful activities and saying, when I get out, I'll surely surrender. But then it's explained in the Bhagavatam that when the baby comes out, born, just forgets everything due to the trauma of birth. And then it says, under the spell of Maya, the baby cries, and then there's a whole thing where the parents are cuddling the child, and they just forget their promise. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that sometimes, I'm trying to think of, the only example I'm thinking of in that purport is that he says that when a woman's giving birth, she'll think, okay, yes, I'll never become pregnant again. But many times they do. But whatever it may be, that people they promise, yes, never again, never again, never again. I'm suffering so much, never again, never again. But this, it's so strong, the desires, and they just, again, whatever it may be. So, therefore, we need spiritual strength. We need to become strong in Krishna consciousness, and then we have the ability to really act for our best interest. We have the ability to act for our best interest. It's a great thing, actually, and this way our mind becomes our best friend. So, any other question? Yes, Govardhan.
Thank you for the class, Balaram Prabhu. So I'm thinking about having kids, and Srila Prabhupada, he says the modern educational system is a spiritual slaughterhouse, and I want to put them in, good education. Would you recommend homeschooling them or sending them to a gurukul, or what would you say to this?
Yeah, you could do one of those. Homeschool. Of course, if you're homeschooling them, you have to have the right ideas also, be Krishna conscious, teach them Krishna consciousness. And if you're sending them to the Gurukul, you also have to send them to a Gurukul that's teaching them properly. It's amazing how many things could be taught in the name of Krishna consciousness, as we were discussing the other day. There's these whole 13 upper sampradayas teaching so-called Krishna consciousness. But yeah, it's a bit of a difficult age for grihastas and for brahmacharis and for sannyasis and for vanaprasthas. It's a difficult age for Krishna consciousness. We haven't established ourselves as much as we should, which, okay, again, we're practically speaking a new movement in the Western world, just a little over 50 years. So yeah, we need more elementary school, we need more schools, colleges. The Christians were able to do it. I think that devotees could also do it. And communities, farm communities, and so on. We need more support. So, yeah. But homeschool, Gurukul is good. Yeah, I mean, you send children to school, and it's a real gamble, actually, because you'd be surprised what these kids, what they're learning from their parents. If their parents aren't so good, you'd be surprised what they learn from their parents, and what to speak of whatever they're watching, the garbage they're watching. And then they take that to school, and then they talk to your son, hey, I got something to tell you. I mean, I had the experience when I was going to school, like, from age 5 to 10 in Oregon, Grants Pass, Oregon. It's a very small town. You wouldn't expect, you maybe expect the kids to be a little more kind of wholesome, or in some ways they are. But it's practically out in the country. My sister calls it a freeway town. It's one of those towns you're driving through to Sacramento or wherever, and you just happen to be going through Oregon, and it's just a small little town off the side, surrounded by trees. So, but I remember it. The guy scarred me. But I mean, we were like, I don't know, 6 years old or something, 7 years, and the guy was a full-on racist guy. Like, he was all types of foul language. I was surprised, and I still remember it. So what to speak of nowadays? That was, a little while ago. What to speak of nowadays? It's a bit of a gamble. Of course, anyways, so. But you're not thinking of having children, you're asking for others. You want to say it explain yourself?
Prabhupada said in the purport that if you use sex only to beget children, then you're still a brahmachari. I
see. Yeah. Grihasta brahmachari. All right, any last? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Morning, you may have noticed that the Govinda prayers went into another song. That wasn't my fault. Someone put into the playlist of Govinda, which we went through this already, right? It should be alone in there. They put like 20, 30 other songs. So if anyone did that or knows who did it, please just leave Govinda alone in this one playlist, and then it'll stop at the end, which is what we want. And you can create your other playlist and then put all your as many as you want in there. All right.